There comes a moment in every person's life when the world seems to slow down. Not because time has stopped, but because something inside of us begins to shift. You start to sense that life isn't just a straight path forward. It's a series of invisible thresholds we keep crossing, over and over again. Each one transforms us, quietly, completely, and sometimes painfully. These are not changes you can measure in years or count with birthdays. They are inner transformations, the kind that reshape your personality, your dreams, and your very sense of purpose. From the moment we take our first breath, we begin a journey through several hidden stages of being. And what's truly fascinating is that these phases don't depend on age at all. You can be 25 and already walking the path of wisdom, or 60 and still wrestling with the ego of youth. Because life is not measured by time, it's measured by awareness. Every person is moving through a cycle of becoming, learning, and awakening, even if they don't realize it. Some people stay trapped in one stage for years, even decades, repeating the same patterns, chasing the same illusions, unable to see that life has been calling them to grow. Others move swiftly, breaking through the invisible walls of their own consciousness, guided by something deeper, something ancient and silent that we often call intuition. And maybe that's where you are right now, standing at the edge of one of those thresholds, feeling that something inside you is changing, even if you can't quite explain it. That's why this test exists, not as entertainment, but as a mirror. In front of you, there are symbols, ancient shapes that speak the language of the unconscious. Each one carries its own frequency, its own message. And when you look at them, one will inevitably pull you closer. It won't be logic that decides it. It'll be a feeling, subtle yet undeniable. Don't overthink it. Don't analyze or rationalize your choice. Your mind will try to reason, but your soul already knows. The symbol you choose will reveal where you stand in your inner journey, the phase of life your soul is currently experiencing. Because every human being, whether they know it or not, is walking through these sacred phases. The innocence of the athlete, the strength of the warrior, the responsibility of the declarer, and the serenity of the spirit. They repeat through lifetimes, teaching us, molding us, burning away everything false until only truth remains. So take a deep breath. Forget everything you've been told about who you should be or where you should be by now. None of that matters here. What matters is where your inner self is, right now, in this moment. Look at the symbols before you. Feel them, not with your eyes, but with your heart. One of them will resonate, it always does. Trust that pull. It's your subconscious trying to speak. And if you listen closely, it will show you the phase of life you've entered, the lesson you're here to learn next. Because this isn't just a test. It's a mirror of your evolution. And right now, your soul is ready to see itself. Picture yourself standing at the dawn of your journey, when everything feels new, vivid, and intoxicating. The air around you is filled with potential, and every reflection you catch of yourself feels like a question. Who am I becoming? This is the athlete phase, the first and most self-centered chapter of human evolution. It's not about physical sports or competition. It's about the obsession with self. The body, the appearance, the validation of others, all become mirrors through which we search for identity. In this phase, life revolves around me. You wake up thinking about how you look, how you're perceived, how you compare. You measure your worth in compliments, your happiness in attention, your confidence in how others respond. Everything feels personal, because the world seems like it was built for you. The universe feels small, but only because it orbits your reflection. It's an age of beauty, energy, and raw emotion. You chase admiration, yet inside, there's a quiet, uneasy tension. The ego swells, but so does self-doubt. And that's the paradox of this stage. Behind every confident pose, there hides a fragile question. Am I enough? Those trapped in the athlete phase are constantly caught between self-admiration and self-criticism. One day, they feel invincible, glowing with confidence, adored by their reflection. The next, they feel invisible, haunted by insecurity, comparing themselves to every shadow around them. Teenagers often dwell here, but many adults never truly leave. Some inherit this stage from narcissistic environments, where love was conditional, given only when you looked perfect or achieved something impressive. In those cases, the mirror becomes a battlefield. You start fighting your own reflection, criticizing every flaw, every scar, every mistake. And yet, this phase is necessary. It's where you begin to define the self, to understand the boundaries between you and the world. It's when you learn how fragile the ego is, and how dangerous it can be when left unchecked. The athlete lives for approval, but sooner or later, that thirst becomes exhausting. You realize that admiration doesn't fill the emptiness, it only deepens it. You start noticing the hollowness behind perfection, the loneliness that hides beneath applause. And it's in that exact moment of quiet discomfort that the first light of awakening appears. You begin to question the image you've been protecting. You start to see that the person in the mirror isn't the whole story. That beyond the eyes and the smile, there's something more, something real. The lesson of this phase is simple, yet profound. The world doesn't revolve around you, but that's not a loss. It's freedom. Because once you stop fighting for attention, you can start searching for purpose. Once you stop obsessing over how you appear, you can begin discovering who you are. This is the beginning of growth. The moment when the athlete slowly dissolves, making way for the next stage. The warrior phase, where strength finds direction and identity transforms into purpose. When the mirror finally cracks, something extraordinary happens. The world suddenly expands. You begin to see beyond your reflection, beyond the surface of your own desires. The noise of vanity fades, replaced by a quiet fire inside. The will to act, to build, to become. Welcome to the warrior phase, the chapter of movement, purpose, and discipline. This is where you stop asking, "Who am I?" and start demanding, "What must I do?" In this phase, life is no longer just about appearance. It's about direction. You've tasted self-awareness, and now you crave impact. The warrior is the one who wakes up with a mission, who feels the pulse of ambition in every heartbeat. It's the moment when you realize that strength means nothing without purpose, and that purpose demands effort. The warrior learns through friction. Every challenge becomes a teacher, every failure a sharpening stone. It's a stage built on accountability. You start to see that your choices have consequences, and that no one else can walk your path for you. You take ownership, sometimes painfully, but with growing pride. You set goals, chase them relentlessly, and for the first time, understand what it means to sacrifice comfort for meaning. Your body and mind become allies, no longer obsessed with how they look, but with what they can achieve. And yet, the warrior's journey isn't free of danger. The same fire that fuels discipline can burn into arrogance. You may start seeing life as a battlefield, constantly measuring victories and losses. You might push too hard, too far, confusing exhaustion with honor. But those who stay too long in the warrior phase often lose touch with tenderness. They fight every battle as if the world must be conquered, not realizing that some victories require surrender, not strength. Still, this is the phase where you forge resilience. You build habits that shape your destiny. You learn how to lead, how to endure, how to fail and still rise again. And beneath every scar earned in this phase lies wisdom, a quiet understanding that every battle fought within is far more important than those fought without. For many, this is the most transformative chapter of life. It's where ambition turns into focus, where chaos becomes order. You begin to sense your calling, a purpose that's bigger than yourself. The lesson of this stage is both humbling and empowering. You are responsible not only for your life, but for the lives you touch. Because true strength is not the ability to dominate. It's the courage to protect, to uplift, to build something that lasts beyond you. And as that realization deepens, the warrior begins to evolve once again. The armor grows lighter, the battles become fewer, and the heart, once hardened by struggle, begins to open, ready for the next phase of transformation. The declarative phase, where purpose gives birth to legacy and strength learns to love. There comes a point when the warrior, weary from countless battles, begins to lower their sword. The drive that once burned so fiercely starts to soften. The fire doesn't go out. It simply changes color. It becomes warmer, steadier, more human. This is the declarative phase, where strength transforms into care, and ambition evolves into responsibility. It's the moment when you stop living only for yourself and start living for something or someone greater. In this phase, you begin to look back at the road you've traveled. You see the footprints of who you used to be, the athlete chasing validation, the warrior chasing victory. And you realize that everything you've done, every triumph and every wound was leading you here, to this sacred moment of creation, protection, and legacy. It doesn't always mean becoming a parent in the literal sense. Some people give birth to children, others to ideas, communities, or acts of love. What matters is that you start to nurture life, to build, to teach, to leave something behind that will continue long after you're gone. For the first time, your thoughts stretch beyond the present. You start to think in generations, not in days. You ask yourself, what will remain when I'm no longer here? What will my presence mean to those who come after me? This phase brings both joy and fear. Joy, because you're finally grounded, no longer drifting, no longer searching for meaning in every direction. Fear, because true responsibility is heavy. The weight of another soul, a child, a student, a follower, rests in your hands. And suddenly, every choice matters more than ever before. You begin to reflect deeply on your past achievements, not with pride, but with accountability. What did your victories teach you? What mistakes would you never want repeated? This stage invites you to transform your experiences into wisdom, to become the kind of person who not only achieves but inspires. It's also the time when love changes shape. It becomes quieter, deeper, less about excitement and more about presence. You learn that to love is to protect, to guide, to sacrifice, and you begin to understand that legacy isn't made of trophies or possessions. It's made of memories, values, and the way others feel when they think of you. The greatest challenge of this phase is learning to let go, to allow those you nurture to grow beyond your control. Because true guidance isn't about shaping others in your image, but about giving them the courage to find their own. The lesson of the declarative phase is this: you are not just living your story anymore. You are shaping the stories of others. And as this realization deepens, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You start feeling a pull toward silence, toward stillness, toward understanding that everything, the struggle, the triumph, the love, the loss, was never about the world outside, but the universe within. That is when the next phase begins to whisper your name. The spiritual phase, the final and most luminous transformation of all. There comes a day, often quiet, almost unnoticeable, when the noise of the world begins to fade. The trophies that once seemed so important gather dust. The applause that once fed your pride grows distant. The things you chased no longer chase you back, and instead of loss, you feel something unexpected: peace. This is the spiritual phase, the final and most luminous chapter of human evolution. It's not about religion, dogma, or ritual. It's about remembrance, the moment your soul finally remembers what it truly is. Here, you begin to understand that life is energy, endlessly shifting and recycling, with no beginning and no end. You are not a name, not a body, not a role. You are consciousness itself, a spark of infinite light moving through time, wearing different faces, living different stories, learning one eternal lesson: love. In this phase, ambition softens into purpose, and purpose dissolves into peace. You no longer wake up asking, "What can I get?" but rather, "What can I give?" The need to prove yourself disappears, replaced by a quiet desire to illuminate others. You start to see that every person you meet, friend, stranger, or enemy, is a reflection of the same divine energy that flows through you. The warrior fought to conquer the world. The declarer built it for others. But the spirit learns to become one with it. You begin to see beauty in everything, even in what once caused you pain. The struggles that once felt unfair now appear as sacred teachers. The heartbreaks that once broke you now seem like gentle nudges toward truth. Gratitude becomes your natural language, silence your most honest prayer. The spiritual phase is not about escaping reality. It's about seeing it clearly for the first time. You recognize that everything is connected: the soil beneath your feet, the wind brushing your skin, the stars that watch you from above. And in that awareness, fear dissolves. You stop trying to control the flow of life and start trusting it. It's also the stage where the soul becomes a light for others. You find yourself drawn to guide, to teach, to comfort, not out of superiority, but out of empathy. You've walked the long road, stumbled through illusion, and now you know that the path to peace isn't paved with achievement, but with surrender. And so you begin to shine, not loudly, not forcefully, but naturally. Your presence becomes healing, your words carry calm, and your silence speaks wisdom. You no longer seek followers, you create awakeners. You no longer chase meaning, you become meaning. When you reach this phase, you understand something profound. There is no true ending. Death is not a door that closes. It's a breath that continues elsewhere. The journey simply changes form. The soul moves on, carrying with it every lesson, every act of kindness, every spark of awareness it ever created. And so the circle completes itself. The athlete who once sought attention, the warrior who fought for purpose, the declarer who built a legacy, and finally, the spirit who transcended all of it. You are not who you were at the beginning. You are something greater, quieter, infinite. And as you sit in that deep peace, in the soft glow of your own awakening, you understand what this entire journey was trying to teach you all along. That everything you sought outside of you was already within you. Now, take a moment. Don't rush. Let your breath settle and feel the quiet pulse of your own existence. You've just walked through the 4 great phases of life: the athlete, the warrior, the declarer, and the spirit. Each one, a mirror reflecting a part of you that still lives within. Each one, a necessary chapter in the grand story of becoming. Because the truth is this: you are not one of these phases. You are all of them. They live inside you, rising and falling like tides, shaping your journey from innocence to understanding, from noise to silence. At times, you'll find yourself slipping back into old stages, chasing attention like the athlete, fighting battles like the warrior, or overprotecting those you love like the declarer. That's not failure. That's the rhythm of being human. Growth is not linear. It's circular. You revisit your lessons until they sink deep enough to become wisdom. When you look back on your life, you'll see it wasn't a straight climb, but a spiral, each turn bringing you closer to the center, to the essence of who you truly are. That center is the spirit. That still point inside you that never ages, never fears, never ends. The world may tell you to measure your worth by success, by beauty, by how much you've achieved. But what truly defines you are the transitions, the quiet moments when you chose reflection over reaction, forgiveness over pride, compassion over control. Those moments, invisible to others, are the milestones of the soul. If you've chosen your symbol, if one image called to you in this journey, know that it was not random. That symbol is a language of your subconscious, a whisper from the deepest part of your being, trying to remind you of where you are and what you need now. Perhaps you're still in the athlete phase, learning to accept yourself beyond appearances. Perhaps you're in the warrior's storm, fighting to turn pain into purpose. Or maybe you've entered the declarer's embrace, building something lasting for those you love. And if you're among the few who have touched the spirit, then you already know that the true reward of the journey was never victory, but awakening. Wherever you are, remember this: every phase has a purpose. The athlete teaches you to see yourself. The warrior teaches you to master yourself. The declarer teaches you to share yourself. And the spirit teaches you to transcend yourself. Together, they form the full circle of life, a mirror that reflects not what the world sees, but what the soul remembers. So as you sit here, listening to your breath, let one simple truth sink in. You are not lost. You are evolving. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every moment of joy, all of it is guiding you home. Home to the person you were always meant to become. And when you finally stand in front of that invisible mirror and look into your own eyes, you won't see someone perfect, or complete, or finished. You'll see someone awake. Because this journey was never about changing who you are. It was about remembering it.